Hey, GERO 508, we're back. It's still Sunday, July 23rd, and we are going to talk about exercise, which is a subject that is very near and dear to John's heart. He's done research for decades
I did
about,
10 years of Parkinson's research where we put Parkinson's patients on treadmills, and then we replicated the same thing in mice, and we pulled apart their brains and found some really cool stuff. So,
yeah, so it's real. And we know this. It's funny. It's one of these things that when people ask us, how do you age successfully and how do you have a healthier life? We pretty much say eat a plant-based diet, exercise, you know,
yeah, I mean,
do
it's not rocket
do the
science.
yeah. Listen, now we know. Listen to music, be social. Do some yoga.
And once again,
Um,
the prompt is going to challenge you guys to take what you got out of this particular assignment for this week, and then what it means to you and how you're going to implement this either into your life or into your practice. Okay, that's the whole point. And so these are the different parts of the assignment that Julie's going to review right now in her PowerPoint. Oh, look at that. That could be me. Not for
yes.
4 months though. Used to be me.
So I wanted to put in, John's obviously his favorite form of exercise is surfing. And he talks a lot about the fact that when he's surfing, it really reduces his stress levels. And I think there's a couple of reasons for this. He always says, when I'm surfing, I don't think about anything else. So
You don't.
your brain is completely focused, and the ocean is a little bit of a dangerous place. So you have to be on your game or you're gonna get hurt or hurt someone else. And so you're very, very focused on, here's a wave, I want to catch the wave, what am I going to do, and your brain is running through all these calculations. But I also think there's something magical about being outside in fresh air and the wind in your face and being in the water and the sociality of being in the water where John surfs. He surfed at the same place for a long time, and he's Mr. Friendly, so he knows everybody. And so it really is. It's a form of meditation for him. It's definitely a really wonderful form of stress relief. I'm probably going to make him cry right now because it's going to be a few months before he can surf again. But I know that you will be back there someday. And then,
Awesome. You guys want to see my incisions? No, I don't want to do that.
and then for me, walking is my favorite form of exercise. And the key, I think, to life is find something you enjoy and do it. I used to go to the gym. I didn't love going to the gym. I probably should, especially as you get older. Strength training is a little bit more important to build muscle or prevent muscle loss. But I love walking. I love walking my dogs. Again, it's a very social thing because we walk the same path every day, so we see the same people, and they're always very friendly because we have dogs with us.
Plus, in both ways, you're always seeing critters out there. So we see roadrunners, we see squirrels, we see coyotes, we see snakes. And just the beautiful, beautiful flowers and the
Yeah,
hillsides
so it's really activating.
yeah,
It's activating the visual cortex. It's
right.
activating all of my sensory systems. I'm smelling, I'm seeing, I'm hearing birds. The other day, I hadn't been feeling super great because of the anemia that I was having, and I said, John, I just got to go for a walk. I need to feel the wind on my face. I got to get out there, and it was a nice little break.
And there's a
So
whole specialty that I think originated in Japan, but people get their degrees in what's called forest bathing. And so they learn how to really immerse themselves in the nature and get the most out of it.
yeah,
And,
and so if you live in LA, you're going to be like, okay, great. Where am I going to go forest bathing?
just
I walk around campus
yeah,
after my class
beautiful trees at
every
USC.
week, and I walk around campus, and there's some pretty cool parts of campus, little sculpture gardens and
And
cool
so
trees, and
some of the squirrels
and
are just like coyotes. They're
the
amazing,
squirrels
man.
are pretty
They're
cool.
pretty aggressive,
And
actually.
sometimes you'll see this huge butterfly in the middle of nowhere. But so you can, you have to be flexible. Yeah, if you live in an urban environment, you got to find nature where you can.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, exercise helps. It releases dopamine. It helps with your concentration. It helps you get better sleep. It's kind of a form of meditation. And so it has all of these really positive techniques to help reduce stress. So we recommend it. This is a very scientific look at what happens on a molecular and a neuronal level when you
Molecular
exercise.
psychiatry.
So there's been a lot of studies where they take blood as you exercise. They will analyze, all these different things going on. And here's my dog.
It's
She's
Lucy
back.
again.
She's very needy right now.
I know.
And they'll do these functional MRI tests and things like that. So John was actually on a really cool documentary. It was ESPN's The Body Image. He was a guest on that documentary a few years back, and he talked about aging and how you can still be really active and how exercise affects the body. So he's the man.
There you go.
So anyway, but just remember, exercise is going to reduce the way that your HPA axis responds to stress. It's going to reduce your CRH levels. It's going to activate your HPA axis for energy as opposed to for stress. So it
becomes purposeful.
Yeah, it becomes purposeful.
Exactly. We always talked about, sadly you're supposed to use the stress response to paddle really fast when you see a shark or whatever, and then it's over. Whereas we tap into that stress response 24 hours a day because the cost of living is so bad, the stock market sucks, Donald Trump's coming back, all this kind of stuff, um, and that's not purposeful, So we activate this, when you're exercising because it's not a conscious thing. Remember, this is the autonomic or automatic or it's the autonomic nervous system. I call it automatic, where you immediately release the different types of hormones so that you have enough fuel to perform at your best. So it's purposeful.
So that's very technical stuff from the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry, but it does give you a sense of all the different physiological changes that happen when you exercise.
And these adaptations. And adaptation means that you just gear up, even at the level of DNA and which recipes are read and produce which proteins. It's all about use it or lose it, and you gear up based on what you're doing with exercise. So the next time you're better at it.
Now, and there's been a lot of research recently that looks at how much exercise do you need, and any exercise helps. So even if you are really busy and you're one of those sandwich generation people and you're caught between taking care of your kids and taking care of your parents and working a full-time job and you're going to school and life is hard for you right now, if you can get up and walk for 10 minutes, it's going to make a positive difference. So sometimes I think we think, unless I'm running a marathon, it doesn't count. Do what you can.
Yeah, I mean,
do what you can.
When you get to work, and, you just you take one look at the elevator, and then you say, "Where are the stairs?" And you just put that. We always use the stairs. You know what I mean? And that just gives you just that little giddy up for that moment that it gives you a leg up. So
absolutely. So this article about exercise in the brain. And how exercise actually changes your brain structure. One of the things that we see with aging is that your brain volume decreases, but people who exercise are able to maintain their brain volume a little bit better. So you can avoid that decreased brain volume. You can avoid the shrinkage of your hippocampus, and the hippocampus is important with memory, right?
And the brain volume is, here's your nerve cell like this, and then there's all these dendrites where all the connections are made. It's just like a wiring diagram. Just the more opportunity for wiring, the more complicated the circuit, the more things you can do. Okay, so you don't really lose that many neurons. Okay, but what happens is the connections shrink like that, and that's why you have the reduced volume.
Decrease, yeah. And I saw that with my dad. He had a lot of scans towards the end of his life because of his lung cancer. And in every scan, they would say there's been a slight decrease in his brain volume, which was to be expected. He was 84. So one of the things that we're talking about this week is this magical thing called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And what that is it's kind of like fertilizer for your brain cells, that you can increase your BDNF by doing exercise. And it's really important to help your brain cells survive, to promote brain plasticity, to help new neurons develop, to help new connections develop. And so that's really a good thing. So more BDNF is good.
And it's not rocket science. Everything is, we're efficient machines. And so the more active areas of the brain are. Okay, so a lot of activity when you're exercising because you're doing a lot of things. And then what happens is this person is going to exercise like this again, so we got to get better at it. So the genetic code for this BDNF is a small protein. It gets activated and then it releases the BDNF into the surrounding area, that part of the brain that's active, and then it causes growth, right? So it's not like it's just sitting out there. Again, this is very purposeful. So.
Yeah. The other thing that exercise does for your brain that's really good is it promotes oxygen and blood flow.
Yep.
So you need to have oxygen to your brain. If you ever get faint, what you probably want to do is lay down and elevate your feet so that the blood flow will be going to your brain. So having that good oxygen flow, having that good blood flow is really important. While I've been anemic, I've been kind of joking with my kids. I'm like, I'm not as smart as I used to be because my brain's not getting enough oxygen. So if I'm having trouble remembering stuff, don't beat me up about it. It's only temporary. So it also helps because exercise will help keep you from having high blood pressure. High blood pressure puts a lot of stress on your blood vessels. It increases risk of stroke and things like that. You don't want to have high blood pressure in your brain.
It triggers the atherosclerosis, that is the inflammatory response too.
Absolutely.
When you have high blood pressure, because what happens is you get little tears in your vasculature, and then the immune system goes racing in there to fix those tears. It has the best intention, but it just spirals out of control.
And then exercise helps reduce inflammation in the brain. You don't want to have inflammation, excessive inflammation anywhere in your body. But exercise helps promote these microglial cells that we'll talk about more in a minute. And they're kind of like the garbage collectors that go around in the brain, and they clean up the garbage and the junk, and they clean up damaged cells, and they reduce inflammation in your brain.
They are your brain's immune cells, basically, because there's a special barrier where we don't want the immune cells that are all throughout your body fighting infection to leak into the brain unless things get really bad. So there's always a little bit of a guard gate.
There's a blood-brain barrier you hear people talk about. Okay. And so this is kind of a cool graphic that I found that just talks about this BDNF, this magic fertilizer for your brain. And it talks about how, yes, it's really good. It helps your brain adapt, which is what plasticity means in terms of your brain. It helps you learn new things. It helps improve the plasticity so that your brain can respond and react to changing conditions. You want your brain to be plastic, to be able to change if your needs change,
Plastic means modifiable.
Yeah. So if this semester you're taking GERO 508, but next semester you're taking a different class, you want your brain to be able to rise to whatever challenge you're giving to it.
And there's structural changes that underlie the ability to change your abilities.
Yeah. And so the graphic also shows how different things affect your BDNF levels. So exercise is good. That will increase your BDNF at any age. Missing sleep, which unfortunately is a problem that a lot of people have, not getting enough sleep.
As you get older, you sleep less.
If you miss sleep, you have less BDNF. So yes, insomnia is a significant issue for older people.
And genetically we have it in my family.
It can be an issue for younger people and for students as well. You have more to do in a day than you can get done. Try to get a healthy amount of sleep if you can.
It's good to have a good routine, to get yourself into sleeping, and don't be sitting on your phone, your computer late at night. And then the other thing is, you got to reduce alcohol later at night, reduce caffeine early in the day. All these things contribute to sleep problems.
Nutrition. If you're eating a lot of fat and sugar, you're going to have less BDNF. So again, plant-based diet. Sparingly do the In-N-Out burger, and stress.
Everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation. You don't have to never eat anything delicious again. Stress, cortisol will reduce it'll act against BDNF. So control your stress by exercising. Okay. Now this whole slide is to try to explain how your microglial cells, when they're healthy, are really good in your brain. And then when they become unhealthy or senescent, they're kind of dying off and not doing well. And then that's the condition that you
That's what we
see
see
in
over here.
Alzheimer's. So we're contrasting healthy brain, seeing positive effects of exercise, unhealthy brain, experiencing some of the changes that happen with Alzheimer's disease.
You just go through each of
So
these things and you can see what it does.
yeah, so in the brain, these microglial cells will promote repair in the brain.
If you have a
They're
little bit of injury or you have a little inflammatory event, you have a little minor stroke, they're going to go in there and they're going to get rid of the debris right here. Okay, they're going to activate other guys right here. Is it okay if I
yeah,
kick
yeah,
in?
yeah, yeah. You're the
And
man.
then they're going to and then they release factors that promote the plasticity that we were talking about, which is a regrowth. Okay, so your immune system is plays a huge role in repair of injured tissue. We think about it, immune system, we think, oh, that's to fight off infection. Yes, but a big part of it is we're constantly doing repair. Right here, it will, as synapses become less active, they kind of begin to pull away, and they help in removing them because you only have so much space in the brain, so we get rid of the unnecessary connections. Okay, so it's a big part of regulating which ones are active, which ones are or which are not. Um, there's lots of different types of cells in the brain, okay, and so they're recruiting their function as well. We don't have time to get into it. We think of nerve cells, but glial, there's a lot of different types of glial cells that help in this process, okay. We're going to get rid of the crap right here, okay. We are going to modulate these different types of kind of molecular mechanisms right here. So, but anyways, that's the big take-home message on that. And you can just kind of contrast between the Alzheimer's brain and what the effect of exercise does. And they look down here at a number of factors. So these down here are some of these inflammatory messengers that Julie was talking, the cytokines. And you just kind of blow this up and see what goes up and what goes down, and which ones get worse in terms of inflammation and which ones are better with exercise.
So if I had a relative with Alzheimer's, I would encourage them to exercise. Same if I had a relative with Parkinson's disease, I would encourage them to exercise. And we see some pretty profound effects with people who have Parkinson's who run, or they've actually got some Parkinson's exercises that they teach. They've got boxing is considered a potential therapy for Parkinson's. And so anyone who has any sort of brain injury, exercise is helpful.
And let's say you're just normal. You're young, you're middle age, or you're old age, but you want to stay competitive because it is what it is. The only way you can stay competitive is just by pushing, pushing, pushing.
Okay. And so this is from a journal article talking about the health benefits of yoga and exercise. And the important thing is this giant table.
Right. And this
where
is what's called they call it a meta-analysis. They look at tons and tons of different studies and they categorize what happened. What were the benefits that were attributed to yoga? Okay.
So they're comparing yoga to just exercise in general.
Right.
And everywhere that you see an X, they've seen in one of these studies, they've seen some positive effect. On the right side, it says comparison of yoga to exercise, more beneficial. You can see there's a lot of X's in a lot of different places. So that just gives you kind of a feel that there is some literature out there that says there's something really unique and special about yoga. And it doesn't surprise me because, again, we're combining this very purposeful movement that can even be aerobic if you've ever done a series of, what are they called, asanas, really quickly. And you're also listening to music, and it's got a little bit of meditation involved and controlling your breath. And so it's
good yoga studios have amazing visuals in their studios. They may even have some types of oils, stuff like that make it smell good. It's a total package, And if you ever want to really get into it, the place that we were down in Costa Rica is one of the epicenters for yoga in the world. Playa Guiones, Nosara area, so check that out for sure.
Yes.
Right.
I think there's actually a Maymaster yoga class that people were telling us about. Does exercise affect your brain? This is in
that same article, I think.
So I put a red box around all the places where yoga has been shown to have significant beneficial effects in the brain. And so we can see cortisol levels. Yoga has a positive, a reduction of cortisol levels, reduces your insulin levels, increases your cytokines, affects your blood glucose.
So it's everything. Look at, and so this is the bad thing of stress and the activation that can lead to disease.
Yeah,
Okay, and you guys should feel really proud of yourself. You start looking around and you're like, wait a minute, that's right. The sympathetic nervous system versus the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, a good thing. All right, and how that changes heart function. Okay, increases clotting, and we see here we down here this the whole process of inflammation. It's disease, disease, disease. This is what? This is diabetes that we learned
yeah.
all about right here.
So what
Okay.
yoga actually does, stress causes increased blood glucose. Yoga decreases your
So
blood
you see,
glucose. Stress causes a reduction in insulin. Yoga would increase your insulin. Stress causes, and so I kind of misspoke earlier when I was trying to explain it. The stress causes an increase in inflammatory cytokines. Yoga would cause a decrease
right,
in inflammatory
everything here is
cytokines.
stress, and everything gets
And
flipped
so yoga
by
flips the
yoga.
effect, which is really good.
And again, I just commend you guys. Think about if you had not taken the class, you would look at this and you would be like, what? But now you can look at this and
And
go,
you may
wow,
still be looking at it and
that's
saying,
okay.
what? And that's okay, because it's a lot going on.
It's all
It's a
good.
lot going on. And so this is a cool video about exercise stress in the brain. Basically, increased blood flow is good. You're getting more oxygen to the brain. You are stimulating production of new brain cells. If you scan the brains of people with high cortisol levels, they're having that shrinkage in brain volume that we don't want to see, because that's going to correlate with memory issues and potentially Alzheimer's or dementia. And exercise clearly reduces your stress and it reduces your cortisol level. So that's a win. That's a
Right.
good thing.
And this is Paul Thompson and Albert Toga. They run um, an amazing facility over at UFC Keck School of Medicine. It's the Stevens Institute for, I think, neuroimaging or something like that. Not too far from Francisco Bravo High School in the Boyle Heights area. It's really, really cool. Check it out for sure. All right.
Okay. And so this is a little graphic that just talks again, a lot like music. Yoga affects a lot of different areas of the brain. So I feel like when you're seeing something that lights up so many different areas of the brain, that you're going to see really profound effects. And that may explain why we see such positive information in the literature that yoga appears to be better than other forms of exercise. So think about when you're going through a series of yoga poses, your frontal lobe is involved. So this whole area of executive function
Executive decision
again.
making. Yeah.
You've got a plan. You've got to think, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm going to be doing this next. And so you're planning your sequence and remembering your sequence.
These are the learning and memory centers, these two right here.
Yeah, so your parietal lobe, you're going to have to use some sensation, awareness of sensations. You're pressing your feet into the mat. You're feeling your balance. You're listening to the teacher. You're paying attention to your breath. There's a lot going on. Your temporal lobe helps you remember what's happening and remember what you're supposed to be doing. And again, helps you pay attention to your breath. You can't forget to breathe when you do yoga. The occipital lobe.
This is breathing and heart rate right here
Yeah,
too.
the occipital lobe allows you to watch. So, and one of the hard things about yoga sometimes is you're doing downward dog and then you're trying to look up and watch the instructor. So once you've been doing it for a while and it's effortless, it's a little bit easier. And then your cerebellum controls your muscle memory. So your memory of the poses that you've done before, balance and things like
This is
that.
constantly updating so that you're getting better every
So
single
you're
time.
really lighting up all these different sections of your brain. And then John says, "You really like LeBron James,
Yes,
don't you?" But I do
I
think
do too.
I do
He's
think
awesome.
he's a bit of an icon. And one of the things that I find so interesting about elite athletes like Serena Williams or LeBron James is that they have a tremendous work ethic and they exploit every advantage that they can exploit to be successful. And so this is a post from a while back. LeBron James has done yoga for many, many years.
Most of the people in the professional surfing circuit do it as well. So,
Yeah, and so he is on the beach teaching young NFL players a yoga class, which I thought was really cool that he was passing it along. And on the right-hand side, we have this guy who has worked with the LA Clippers for a long time. They were notable, I think, for many, many years as being the one NBA team that had a full-time yoga instructor on staff. And so he's worked with a bunch of really well-known athletes across every sport, football, baseball, soccer, whatever you can think of.
And the cool thing about yoga is it's strengthening, and it's oftentimes strengthening in kind of an awkward use of the muscles that you don't think you're going to tap into in your sporting activity, but then you do. And then another thing that is absolutely key is it creates just the right amount of stretching so that there is an allowability or whatever for the ligaments and tendons to stretch when you're actually doing your sport so you don't tear them out. So this is why.
Yeah, so a lot of people say that by doing yoga, these elite athletes say it prevents them from having injuries.
Now, so I do my own yoga routine every single morning. I've done for years. How do I do this? Well, this is because I'm 67 and I've been actively, really aggressively going after a very overhead sport for 55 years.
So it's use.
So
Yeah.
it does wear out, and and it's actually by being who I was, I kept it going a lot longer than most, So now I'm recovering, and then they got rid of what happens. You get the degeneration in the joint, and you get these little calcifications that are like bone spurs that are like little cheese graters, and they were just basically grinding on my flexible tissue, and that's what happened.
So now you're better than you were.
Yeah, not really.
You will
Someday.
be. You will be. So I wanted to give you a couple of resources. Yoga with Adriene is kind of a cool, there's a website, she has a YouTube channel, it's free yoga lessons. And one of the things I like about her system, first of all, she has a motto, find what feels good. Find what works for you and then do it. And then she has these everything from 5 to 10 minutes to 45 minutes. If you want to look up and say, hey, I'm having some back problems right now, or I want to work on my core, or I want to work on my balance, or I want to work on my stress relief, she'll have a video that's a 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 or 40-minute video that you can select from to try. And she has a lot of videos for beginners if you haven't done yoga. And then USC has a yoga website. During the school year, I don't think it's really happening during the summer, but they have yoga classes both in person and online that you can sign up for. And they've got videos of classes and things like that. So they're trying to kind of start a yoga movement. In gerontology, during the academic year, we have oftentimes we'll have yoga on Wednesdays.
And I did it, during the pandemic. I did it every single lecture, every lecture. I would, because people would lose their focus, and of course we're all stuck in here doing Zoom. And I was like, okay, every single lecture we did 15 minutes, with the class. And and for me, I'm pretty obsessive compulsive about what I do sometimes. So
That's why
I
we
was
love him.
2 days after my shoulder surgery, I started right back at as best I could, and now I'm not even 2 weeks out, 2 weeks tomorrow, and I'm doing my whole routine without fully, moving my arm. Let me check that out. See, rah, rah. But I'm doing, because my point is my core. I'm going after my core mostly. So anyways, that's
Alrighty.
me. Who cares about me?
So that's what we've got. Yoga's good. Any type of exercise is good. Music is good. Sociality is good. We still have to talk about meditation and gratitude and things
all
like
these are
that.
hard to do. I mean, these are all every step of the way. It's the easiest and yet the hardest things to do, because you have to be compliant. You have to believe, and you have to make it part of your routine. We live really busy lives, and but we're just kind of we're kind of like we're being Yoda up here. We're kind of showing you the way. That this is the way.
And the key is to stay active through your whole life, for
absolutely.
sure. That is the answer. That is
Awesome.
the wisdom we can impart to you.
Okay, guys.
So,
Peace.
all righty.
We'll see
Have a
you.
great day. Have a great week. Let us know if you need anything.